We interrupt this lively Baldoni coverage to give a couple notes on the Supreme Court oral arguments that happened this morning on the TikTok ban. If people hate this and they just want me to stick to sexual harassment, that's fine. I really don't care. I listened to the oral arguments. I've done a lot of appellate work. I've practiced some constitutional law, so I think I can hopefully explain it. Again, if you hate it, just tell me. But since this is obviously on everybody's mind, I thought I would at least tell you from my perspective what I heard today. So what this case really boils down to is, and a lot of Supreme Court cases are like this, what happens when you have two constitutional rights that are butting up against each other, right? Everybody knows, like, you have the constitutional right to do this and you have the constitutional right to do that. But what happens when they're both implicated and you can't have it both ways? Which one wins? In this case, the two concerns are First Amendment, right to free speech, and national security on the other side. What happens when the government has concerns about national security and private citizens have concerns about free speech? Can the government use its national security powers to stop or change or modify people's ability to have free speech? That's what the case is essentially about. So here's what I heard. What I heard is that there's more disagreement than just even like what I just described. What's the answer to that question? There's not even agreement on whether free speech is even implicated here. So the government, which is defending, it's their job to defend the law that was passed by Congress and signed into law by the president that ByteDance needs to get out of TikTok. I'm sorry, I'm so like, I just ate Taco Bell for lunch, which I'm sure was a mistake. The government is saying this has nothing to do with free speech. This is a national security matter. We're not telling people what they can and can't say. People can say whatever they want. But the fact of the matter is that when they say those things on an application that can then give that data back to a foreign government that we do not trust, specifically the Chinese Communist Party, that creates a problem. But that has nothing to do with anybody's free speech. They can speak as much as they want. ByteDance and the TikTok creators are saying, actually, it has everything to do with free speech. Because number one, ByteDance is the one that owns the algorithm. And if ByteDance leaves, they're going to take the algorithm with it. And when you take the algorithm with it, TikTok is just not the same. It's going to affect people's ability to reach multiple audiences. For some people, it's going to affect their ability to make a living. So that makes it about free speech. And the other thing that makes it about free speech, say ByteDance and the creators, is they say to the government, you just admitted it's about content. Because you just admitted that the thing you're afraid of is that China gets the content. So they don't even have agreement on whether this is a free speech case or not, which I find fascinating. There was a lot of discussion in the oral argument, rightfully so, about Congress's power and the president's power to tell private companies what they can and cannot do. That's sort of a bipartisan issue, regardless of what your political beliefs are. In America, telling private companies what they can do is pretty well disliked by everybody. So there was a point in the argument where one of the justices asked, you say you're so worried that ByteDance is going to give TikTok creators content to China. Why don't we ban Temu then? Because God only knows what they're doing with that information. So there was a lot of discussion about the power of the government and how far that power goes. I have no idea what they're going to decide. I will never try to predict what those folks are going to do ever again. But I think that it creates sort of a strangely bipartisan, like across the political spectrum, all of the justices on the court that asked questions from all over the ideological spectrum had pretty good questions and pretty legitimate concerns. And what I think I heard is a lot of them saying, is it just a bad law? Like, is the idea okay? But should we force Congress to pass a better law than this? It just wasn't written tightly enough to really cover the issue that it was supposed to cover. So yes, it's a problematic issue for the First Amendment, but we can probably fix it, which is something that the court can do. So for what it's worth, I just wanted everybody to know that that's what's happening. They're going to have to make a decision in the next week or so because January 19th is the deadline for the date that TikTok, or ByteDance rather, has to divest from TikTok, or else it's going to shut down. There was a point in the argument where several justices specifically asked the ByteDance lawyer, what will actually happen on January 19th if we say no to you? And he said, TikTok will go dark. It will not be in anybody's app store anymore. And if you open it up, it won't work. So, they've presented this as really being an all or nothing situation. So we should know, I would say within a week, what is going to happen. Hope that was helpful to some people. Maybe not. I promise I will do Justin Baldoni's New York Times complaint this weekend, as I said I would. And hope everybody has a wonderful Friday.